Hey everyone, welcome to the Narcan Network. I'm just going to say here first before I go into today's video, I'm suffering from a bit of a head cold right now, so I'm going to try to get through some of these videos that I've got to do the best I can, and I'm probably going to be having a cough drop in my mouth here, but I want to try to talk as clearly as I can here and get through these videos for today. That being said, today's presentation is going to be episode 277 in the Narcan series. And this is kind of a second part to episode 276 that I did that was entitled, Do Narcissists Change with High-Level Consequences? So this episode 277 goes by the same title. But in this particular episode, I'm just going to talk about my perspective towards what I actually discussed with you guys in episode 276. And that was, we were talking about, do narcissists change at all when they are placed under high-level consequences after their narcissistic, things that they do to people. And I think in that video I basically talked about the factor that, when you see narcissists, or when I have seen narcissists get caught in certain instances and stuff, do they have to deal with, whatever it is that their victim puts them through in that particular instance. I know about, from my own perspective, the narcissists that I dealt with may have had to deal with their own personal things in their lives. They may have had to deal with somebody else. They probably definitely had to deal with another individual besides me, because they were definitely dealing with another individual besides myself. And they may have had to answer to that individual, depending on who it is we're particularly talking about here. Because I've had more than one narcissistic experience here since about 2009. I think my perspective on this is that, I think one of my narcissists here at least has not had to deal with anything directly related to what went on with my narcissistic incident with them. Another one has had to deal with something related to this because of some actions I took after my narcissistic event with them. So I think that they had some repercussions after this for sure. But do narcissists have to, do they have to deal with high-level consequences? I think it depends on the narcissist and what the victim does with them. We have to remember that when we're talking about narcissists and their actions, these are people who have had themselves and their way of being be formed by intense trauma that they may have endured when they were younger, when they were a child or an adolescent. It could be trauma that was imposed because of abuse. It could be trauma from neglect. It could be trauma from a myriad of different things all at once. But of course, as we've talked about on the Narcan Network before too, it can also be trauma caused by that person being treated like a golden child. Because as we know, children who are brought up under kind of like the golden child idea, which is where a child doesn't really have anything to answer to, they don't really have any rules they have to follow, they get left to their own devices. When they do something wrong, there is no punishment, there is nothing done with that child when they act out or when they do something they're not supposed to do. And that makes narcissists as well too. But predominantly when we talk about ones that may have actually been abused in this instance, I think in a lot of instances, if the abuse to the narcissist has been really severe, and that narcissist has had a lot of fear in their life, or they're in a position where they just don't show fear or feel fear really openly, then those narcissists don't fear consequences of the things that they do. They may not fear, if you have a person who doesn't seem to be afraid, that narcissist isn't afraid of their victim in some particular way, or the victim lashing out. Because, of course, narcissists often pick out people who are very benevolent in nature and who are easy to manipulate sometimes, and who have a lot of empathic traits, because narcissists themselves don't naturally have empathic traits. I think that when they pick out people of this nature, they also pick them out knowing that those individuals may not present that narcissist with any repercussions if indeed that narcissist is found out to be a narcissist by their victim. That victim may be more timid in nature and not necessarily prone to going out or going after that narcissist after that narcissist has abused that person. But that's not true of everybody, because I know some very feisty people off the Narcan network that have been abused by their narcissists, and these are not people who will cower in a corner in fear of their narcissist. That narcissist may have just taken advantage of them in a way that that person just didn't see the narcissism in the person that they were dealing with. But now that narcissist has been found out by that individual, and that individual is pissed off at them, and they may go after them in some other nature to take care of them or to deal with the narcissistic events that they've had with them. But again, if a narcissist doesn't really fear that person they're with very much, and we're not talking about fear in the sense of like unhealthy fear, whereas somebody is just like abusing, because let's face it, when somebody is being abused, whether it's the person who's being abused by the narcissist or the narcissist being abused by somebody else in their life that caused them to develop narcissism, really negative abuse of that nature isn't good no matter what's going on, whether it's for the narcissist or whether or not it's for you, the victim out there. But if they don't have a fear of repercussions, then they're going to possibly go into narcissism, or that could possibly develop into being a narcissist. Like I just said before, even if they have had kind of like the golden child syndrome with a parent or whatever. But there are people who won't develop that at all, even though they haven't been beset by any of those parameters in their lives when they grew up or when they got older in their adolescence. So these things don't automatically make a narcissist, even though a large majority of the time when we see all those key elements and all those red flags in a younger person or a developing child or developing adolescent that can form a narcissist, very often it will form a narcissistic child who's been subjected to some of these other things that we just talked about. But sometimes it doesn't form a child to be like that either, and they have a particular, healthy fear of not getting out of line with the parents or whatever, and they recognize that. They respect the authority, they respect their boundaries and everything. But with narcissists don't respect those boundaries, though they don't respect all those things in the people that they abuse. And this is why they get away with it a lot of the time without any consequences, until they basically get caught and that person corners them and gives them an ultimatum, and the narcissist either just bails on that person, or if they're in a married situation and they can't bail on that person, they suddenly have to deal with some repercussions. But again, I have people on the Narcan network who are married to narcissists, and these narcissists are reaping some of the repercussions of what they've done to these other individuals in the marriage. And even though this is going on, these narcissists still don't seem to give a shit about the fact that they've abused these people, and they just don't care. So do they change again because of a consequence of something that they've done? I don't think that they do. I can't really say for myself that all the narcissists I had experiences with have changed. I have the privilege of being able to see my narcissists in cyberspace, even though I may not be functionally involved in their lives anymore, directly or indirectly. And I think I may have seen instances what might indicate some changes that my narcissists have made in their life, but I can also see a whole bunch of other things that would indicate to me that they haven't changed. And it's those things that make me think that narcissists really don't change when they get given really harsh consequences after their narcissistic abuse with a victim. It's not something that I feel I really see. I don't really see this much in all the people off the Narcan network that I've had experiences with or that I've helped on the network. And I'm not necessarily seeing this in my own personal experiences with my narcissist either. I have people around me that I know have narcissism. And even those people, sometimes I see them thinking, oh, this person's got to be aware of their poor behavior that they're doing with somebody around them. But lo and behold, they're not. They're completely fucking clueless. Like, and I see this from people around me on an almost day-to-day basis. And it perplexes me that they have no idea, or perhaps what we can more associate with this is that that narcissist does have an idea what they're doing, but doesn't give a shit because they're so self-focused. They don't actually know what the fuck it is they're doing. They don't actually know that they're pissing people off around them, that they're making people around them feel like shit or feel sad, or that they're doing things to affect people around them in negative ways because their narcissism controls their behavior and how they are on an everyday basis, and they're blind to it 99.9% of the time until somebody calls them out and calls them out on their narcissism. So basically here, what I wanted to make the point of in this video is that, again, from my perspective, I don't think narcissists really change with severe consequences, because I've seen tons of narcissists be dealt severe consequences, and yet there's no change in these individuals, which is sad if you think about it, but this is the way narcissists are. Narcissists don't want to be singled out as narcissists. They don't want to come out voluntarily as being narcissists. They don't want to be seen as being narcissists. They'll try to run away from that and escape from it at any point in any way that they can, because that's what narcissists do. This is what narcissists are about. This is the way they behave, and this is just my viewpoint on you know, do they actually change at any point after they've been outed in a situation. So this has been episode 277. I'm going to please stay tuned. I've got lots of new videos coming up on the Narcan Network and some stuff coming up on the Unmasking the Narcissist channel. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you really soon.